Hey there, folks. This is Rick Cantville with United Real Estate Queen City Office, and welcome back to another insightful video on all things real estate. Now, today we're going to be diving into a crucial and often misunderstood aspect of the home buying process here in North Carolina: due diligence. To begin, I'd like to welcome you to our video, and I'd also like to welcome you back to our channel. We assisted many of our clients purchase homes here in the Charlotte area. And most of the questions that we get, specifically from clients that are out of town, are asking about due diligence, what it is, how it works, what's the benefit of it. So today, we're going to answer those questions for you to assist you the next time you purchase a home here in North Carolina. I feel it's important that you know that North Carolina is an as is state, meaning that when you buy a property, it's typically sold in its existing condition with no seller requirement to make any repairs or modifications. Now, careful what I just said there. Please don't confuse that with the idea that sellers won't or don't make repairs, because they often do. They're just not required. Now, essentially, the buyer accepts the property in whatever condition it's in at the time of purchase. Now, this puts more responsibility on the buyer to thoroughly inspect the property and assess any potential issues before finalizing the purchase. And we'll go ahead and get into the inspection process here in just a moment. So what exactly is due diligence? Now, in simple terms, it's the period after the seller accepts your offer and you're under contract. At that time, you as the buyer have the opportunity to thoroughly inspect the property and ensure it meets your expectations. On the contract, there is a due diligence fee, which is a fee that is provided to the seller from the buyer. This fee is an amount paid for the option to terminate the contract for a reason or for no reason during the due diligence period. Now, if you're thoroughly confused by that, let's go ahead and explain using a home purchase scenario. Okay. So let's say you find a home that you'd like to purchase and you place an offer. The offer is accepted and signed, and you're officially under contract. Congratulations. Now, as part of the offer, you requested a 2-week due diligence period, and you put down, just as a number, say $2,500 as a due diligence fee. Now, once the contract is signed, the clock starts ticking, and you, as a buyer, have 2 weeks to complete the inspections necessary to assess the condition of the property. Now, at a very minimum, I always recommend a home inspection be ordered through a reputable home inspection company. Now, depending on what the home inspection reveals, you may also want to order additional inspections. If the home inspection revealed moisture damage in the roof, then a roof inspection should be ordered. If there was an issue with the heating air conditioning unit, then an inspection to determine the condition of that would be required. If there's an issue with an uneven or soft floor, then a crawl space inspection should be ordered just to check the floor joists and the pillars. Okay. So also, if the property has well and septic, a pool, spa, anything like that, then inspections on those should be ordered as well. Now, all of this will need to be completed as soon as possible after going under contract. So you'll need to work with a realtor that has contacts for these types of inspections. Otherwise, you may waste a lot of time searching for contractors to complete this work. Also, while they're doing the inspection, you might want to ask the contractor to give you a quote on any needed repairs. Now, if for some reason you can't get all of your inspections completed by the due diligence period, then you can request an extension from the seller. They don't have to grant it, but you can ask. Okay, so now that you got all of your inspections done, now what? You'll want to sit down with your realtor and decide what items you'd like to have repaired before finalizing the sale. Now, in most cases, you'll want to address anything that creates safety issues or is structural in nature. sagging trusses, rotted floor joists, moisture damage in the roof, and items like this can be added to the repair request. Some items listed on the report really don't affect the safety or the structural integrity of the home, and it may just be normal wear and tear and probably be left off the repair request. Now, once you've determined which items to put on the repair request, the due diligence request and agreement form, which is Form 310, should be completed and submitted to the listing agent to be given to the seller. Now, this should be done within a reasonable amount of time before the due diligence period ends. Submitting this form to the seller with no time to consider a response to me is just kind of a bad business practice. So make sure you include the quotes for the repairs as well, just so that the seller has a dollar amount that they can consider in their response. Okay, so here's a big part of the process. You've submitted your due diligence request to the seller. Now, remember what I said earlier, that the state of North Carolina is an as is state, and the seller is not required to make repair. However, it's been my experience that most sellers want to sell the property just as much as you want to buy it. So it's in the mutual interest of the two parties to kind of work together for a solution. Okay, so let's say you had a list that totaled, let's say, $5,000 in repairs. Now, the seller reviews it and has several options. First, they can decline all repairs, leaving them all to the buyer. It's not very nice, but it does happen. Second, they can say, you know what, sure, they'll be responsible to complete some or all of the requested repairs. In this case, they don't need to necessarily complete the repairs before the end of the due diligence period, but they just have to acknowledge that they will get them done. And once completed, they'll need to provide proofs, normally from a licensed contractor, that the repairs were completed. Now, finally, they could say, instead of repairing the items themselves, the seller may opt to take the $5,000 off the asking price of the home and just let the buyer repair the items themselves. And lastly, it could be a combination of the last two, which is the seller fixing some of the issues and dropping the price due to other repairs. Now, in the event that the seller declines all repairs and doesn't drop the sales price, you now have a few options available to you. If you really love the house and you really want it, you may determine, you know what, I'll go ahead and eat the cost of the repairs and move forward with completing the sale. Otherwise, this is where your due diligence comes into play. This is where you can exercise your due diligence option. And you now have the option to exit the contract, citing the cost of the repairs, but you would forfeit the $2,500 that you paid in due diligence fee. However, because there is earnest money deposit involved as well, you would get that back if you exited the contract during the due diligence period. Now, if you exit the contract after the due diligence period, you would lose both your due diligence fee and your earnest money deposit. So that is how a due diligence period works. Basically, it's an option to get out of the contract for a reason or no reason, but you pay for that option with the due diligence fee. Now, as you can imagine, a buyer will want to keep the fee as low as possible. So if they do have to exit the contract, they don't lose that much money. In comparison, the seller would prefer a larger fee so that the buyer has to give it a lot more thought before exiting the contract. So many times the fee, along with many other items on the contract, is a point for negotiation, as you can imagine. Now, as a final point, mainly because this is another question that is asked pretty frequently, is what happens if everything goes as planned and we get to the closing table? What happens to the amount that I paid in due diligence and the earnest money deposit? Simply, it gets applied towards the sale price of the home, and you'll see it as a credit on your closing disclosure. So it goes towards your final cost. And there you have it, folks. A nutshell explanation of due diligence in North Carolina real estate. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more tips and insights. As always, if you have any questions or need assistance with your home buying journey, feel free to reach out. Until next time, happy house hunting.